And you talk about a freshman on a tear. It's only April.
I mean, she has been so fun to watch. You see her climbing this leaderboard with Jocelyn Allo, Lauren Chamberlain, Tiare Jennings. She is climbing that leaderboard for the home run record as a freshman, which is only 30, so she's going to have to hit 3 more this season to match that. And then just overall this season record at 34 with Jocelyn Allo leading that charge. I think she's got it in her. She's got some time. She's got 20 games left, about 20 games left in this season. I think she can do it, but she has been so fun to watch, so strong. I mean, we've seen home runs 304 feet with Kendall Wells. She's fun to watch.
Absolutely, and just a freshman, and University of Kentucky Wildcats here at Loves Field for the first time, and started the season hot. Between February 18th and March 6th, went on a 13-game winning streak, but have hit a bit of a skid in SEC play, going 1-11, looking to turn some things around here this weekend in Norman. And let's go ahead and take a look at the starting lineup for the Wildcats. At third base and leading it off, Carly Sleeman, Allie Bloom at second, and in the 2 slot, Maddie Clark, and first baseman Carissa Hamilton this season in the 4 spot, hitting .371 with 9 bombs and 39 RBI, really leading the charge for this Wildcat offense as we are underway here in Norman. And Audrey Lowry, the lefty sophomore for the Sooners, getting the nod. And really, it seems safe to say that Lowry has kind of taken on that ace for the Sooner pitching staff.
Yeah, I think Audrey Lowry has really, honed in on that ace pitching. But I think with this staff really coming together, Coach Rocha being back, I think one big goal for this staff is that they have to feed off of each other. There's not many pitchers that have thrown full games. They've all kind of relied on one another to either get them out of jams or allow them to throw to other hitters and face more batters.
And Audrey Lowry, the lefty, she's really done a great job of increasing her velo. I mean, she will pump the gun near 70 miles per hour. But what makes that even more impressive is how well she changes speeds, and that's really been a big piece of Lowry's development. Spins the ball well, does a great job of working east to west and keeping hitters off balance, especially those lefties, but is really, as that velo has increased, we've also seen her really hone in on that off speed.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've seen across the board with all of the pitchers in this rotation is they're all really focused in on changing speeds, keeping the offense off balance. I think that's one thing that Coach Rocha has really emphasized in keeping them successful.
And Sleeman takes the 2-2 right through the 3-4 hole for a leadoff single. And Sleeman entering the game at .384 and trying to get something rolling here offensively. One thing for the Wildcats, and we'll talk about it more as this game and the series goes on, but this offense, they swing it. They can put up runs, and we've seen them do it throughout the season. As sophomore second baseman Allie Bloom stands in. Bloom right back up the middle and call it back-to-back base hits for Kentucky to start this ball game.
And talking to Coach Lawson, she had mentioned that they understand in order to beat a team like Oklahoma, you've got to put runs on the board. It's not going to be a one-run game. They've got to put some runs on the board to be able to compete and keep up in this game. So I'm loving what I'm seeing by just kind of peppering the field. Just make contact, be aggressive in the box.
Senior shortstop Maddie Clark with an opportunity here, a runner in scoring position and nobody out. And Sleeman at second. She's got some wheels. 4 for 5 in stolen bases on the year, as the bunt attempt has popped up.
And Allie Bloom on first base, excuse me, with 8 for 10 stolen bases. So there's some speed.
Lowry off the mound quickly to get the out, but you know Coach Lawson is loving what she's seeing from the senior. Fundamentals, getting the bunt down and moving runners.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to take, and they all understand that. You've got to piece it together. You're facing a great pitching staff, and you've got to be able to piece it all together. Manufacture runs, get the bunts down, move your runners.
As 4-hole hitter Carissa Hamilton stands in, takes the first pitch for a called strike. The Wildcats knocking on the door here early in Norman after back-to-back singles to start this ball game. Hamilton, 363 on the year, leading the Wildcat offense in RBI with 39. Big hack there. We talked a little bit about Lowry's development of the off-speed. Might be a good time for it here, Destiny.
Oh, I agree. This would be a good chance to show it. A little up in the zone.
Nine home runs on the season as that's off the glove, and that will put the Wildcats on top. Here comes Bloom. She will score easily. Kentucky strikes first as Carissa Hamilton picks up a pair of RBI here. Kentucky up 2-0.
And just great execution as a team overall. I mean, you're getting the bunts down by Madison Clark, Carly getting herself on, Allie getting herself on, Madison doing her job, and Carissa Hamilton just sending that ball right up the middle, making it a tough play. Saw Audrey Lowry kind of reach for that, just tipped off her glove.
Kentucky getting Coach Gasso and Coach Rocha out of the dugout early here in the first, and love to take a moment to pause here for just a minute and appreciate how much we love to see Coach Jen Rocha back in the dugout, back in the circle.
Happy to have her back.
What's the message here to Lowry?
I think, you know, they're not used to this. They're not used to getting base runners on the first 2 at-bats. They're not used to having so much pressure on the defense. So I think here it's just, you know, keep the ball in the zone, keep the ball down in the zone, get comfortable, find that confidence, trust your defense.
Coach Jen Rocha getting huge cheers from the crowd, and rightfully so. Going through a cancer battle, but you gotta love the news that she gave Sooner Nation this week.
Cancer-free.
Cancer-free, and such an unbelievable human.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad to see her back. As Lowry falls behind Abby Hammond. 2 balls and no strikes. Hammond, just a freshman, in the circle tonight for the Wildcats as well. Lowry, 3 balls and no strikes. I will say this, if you are Coach Lawson, you've got to love what this offense has come out and done. Using the ground.
Yeah.
Using the dirt. Again, looks like this could be 2, and it sure will. And Lowry using the dirt herself to get herself out of a tough first inning, but Wildcats strike first. We head to the bottom. Kentucky up 2-0. To Norman as the Kentucky Wildcats are up 2-0 as we head to the bottom of the first inning. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday. Let's take a look at the Sooners starting lineup. Very similar to what we've seen from OU this season, but Isabella Emmerling getting the start at first base, and she has been hot here in the last 5 games. And what a problem to have when you've got players who maybe aren't getting everyday starts, but are putting up numbers where you have to find a way to get them in the lineup.
Yeah, I think Isabella Emmerling has really shown herself. I think she's done a really good job being called off the bench and has taken full advantage of every opportunity she's given. So I think she's granted a fair shot at first base. She's been tremendous over the last few games.
Freshman Kai Miner in the leadoff for the Sooners as the first pitch from Hammond misses upstairs. Abby Hammond, just a freshman, making just her second SEC start. And if you talk to this coaching staff, a lot of confidence in the freshman and what she can do. She rocks and fires the 1-1 that misses low, and a lot of what we're going to see from Hammond is going to be down in the strike zone.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that they kind of preach. She understands, you know, you've got to be able to work in your off speed, your changeup. You've got to change speeds against a lineup like OU. You've got to be able to hit your spots and keep the ball down. Just to keep the ball in the park, that's a huge component. Just keep the ball down in the zone.
Sooners working from a spot they don't see all too often, as Kentucky came out swinging, stringing together and manufacturing a pair of runs in the top of the first. As Kai Miner draws a walk. You can see Hammond trying to find that outside corner.
I think that's something you've got to really limit. You've got to limit the free passes, really work to get that leadoff batter out. Especially after your team puts 2 on the board against the Oklahoma Sooners, you've got to be able to close out that leadoff batter.
And if you didn't get it by the cheers, first pitch to freshman Kendall Wells about leaves the stadium. And if you blinked, you missed it, folks. We got a tie ball game, and Kendall Wells' 28th home run on the season.
I mean, and just like that, that ball left the park in an instant. She saw a pitch and sent that out of the park. I mean, it just took one pitch. Tied it up, 2-2.
This pitch a little bit middle in, and Kendall Wells absolutely hammering it. 275 feet to straightaway center field, and the freshman, should we even call her a freshman anymore? She doesn't play like one.
No, I mean 79 miles per hour off the bat.
Inching closer and closer to that Oklahoma freshman home run record. Has already set the SEC single season record and is adding to it at this point.
6 from the OU single season record. 2 away from the NCAA freshman record. I mean, she is climbing that board.
Ella Parker stands in. As we talk about home runs, Ella Parker has got her own things to say about that. 446 on the year with 16 home runs. As Hammond rocks and fires. And this is where has got to battle. Again, putting up the 2 runs to start the ball game. Very good at-bats from Kentucky in the top of the first. But you called it, Destiny. Walking that leadoff batter, following up the pair of runs is a little bit of check swing, and they're going to say she went. Good off-speed pitch from Hammond on the lower half.
And an offense like OU, you know, they're going to make you pay. And you've got to do whatever it takes. I think in this moment, she's got to be able to trust her defense because she cannot leave balls hanging in the zone.
And chopper right back to Hammond. And you got to love the response as she got Ella Parker out on her front foot a bit for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Gabby Garcia.
The shortstop, number 42, Gabby Garcia.
Garcia, just a sophomore after a tremendous freshman campaign. Another off-speed pitch, and Coach Rachel Lawson calls the pitches from the dugout for Kentucky. And we had the opportunity to chat with her before the game, and I just sat there and kind of admired for a second. I go, I'd love just to sit here and talk pitching with you for a little bit. I'm gonna have to be quick, and good play by Carly Sleeman. And just like that, 2 quick outs as Hammond has settled in. Really working that off-speed pitch and getting these Sooners out on their front foot.
That's what she's got to find, that location. I think she's really got to paint the corners, get these hitters to chase a little bit, make contact, make solid contact. Very difficult for these hitters.
That'll bring up Cassidy Pickering. Going to start a little 2-out rally for the Sooners. Got a lot of action here so far, just in the bottom of the first, and Sooners tie it up with 1 swing of the bat after Kentucky struck first, but knotted up here at 2. Pickering taking the ball the other way, and I held my breath there for a second because you could see it just fading.
It was really close down that line.
We talked about Abby Hammond mixing speeds. We saw her get a chase on a pitch low and away, drop ball coming in at about 65 miles an hour to Gabby Garcia, getting her to chase a pitch outside the zone. As this pitch is driven to the left side, and Pickering gets in on the home run action to give the Sooners a 3-2 lead, and you can see the in-game adjustment coming from these Oklahoma hitters. Pickering taking the ball the other way.
Yeah, what a great piece of hitting. I think in a she had 1 ball, 2 strikes, and with that, you know, you're kind of looking like, okay, we may see a change here. You want to be able to understand that the pitcher has that advantage. And in that moment, Cassidy made her pay. She left that ball up in the zone, seeing it so well.
Hammond, you could tell by her reaction, knew it off the bat. Does such a great job of working that drop ball. Did not quite get that pitch up in the eyes of Pickering. And just as quickly as the Wildcats struck to start this game, Oklahoma has taken the lead. Bring up Isabella Emmerling, the senior from Martinez, California. Hammond, the backhand, and that'll do it, but not before the Sooners take the lead by way of the freshman Kendall Wells, knocking her 28th home run of the season. We're headed to the top of the second. here in Norman, Oklahoma. I'm DJ Sanchez along with Destiny McElroy. A lot of action here to start this ball game and to start this Easter weekend. Great turnout. You can tell a lot of people don't have to go to work tomorrow.
Lots of fans in attendance. Great start to a ball game. 2 and 3 runs put on the board.
Audrey Lowry back to work, set to face the 6, 7, 8 in this Wildcat lineup. And Destiny, you mentioned it. We saw 2 runs quickly get put up by Kentucky to start the game. Oklahoma answered back, but you couldn't talk about more different ways to score runs than what we saw in just the first inning alone.
Yeah, we saw some great execution from Kentucky. And then we saw a free pass kind of handed to the Oklahoma Sooners, and then just one pitch, put them right back on the board, tied it up.
Alexa Riddell, another freshman in this Kentucky lineup. Riddell on the year hitting .241. Ground ball to short, and Garcia takes care of Riddell for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Peyton Plotz.
The right fielder, number 37, Peyton Plotz.
First pitch to Plotz misses a little bit low. Plotz, a junior, hometown Lexington, Kentucky native. Nice pitch up in the zone from Lowry. This is, we've seen a lot of things already happen in this ball game just in the second inning, but Lowry has thrown quite a few pitches already to start this game. Starting to see her settle in a little bit more here in the second.
Yeah, I think, Kentucky's made her work, and that's their goal on the offensive end for Kentucky. You've got to make these pitchers work. You've got to make them throw as many pitches as you can. You want to cycle through these pitchers.
Lowry making quick work of Plotz as the rise ball just climbs the ladder for Lowry's first strikeout of the ball game.
Just getting up in that zone. That rise ball is tough to lay off of. The way that it broke very late in the zone, just as a hitter, you're not seeing that soon enough to lay off of it.
That'll bring up senior center fielder Eller Emmert, another local product for the Wildcats. Good take there by Emmert, and you can start to see Lowry really tempting these hitters with that rise ball up in the eyes.
Oh. Little down in the zone.
Little down, little in. I'll say this, if that's a strike, throw it there again.
Yeah.
And if you're Kentucky, you're taking a look at that going, let's throw it there if we're going to get that call.
Okay, he likes that.
Two quick outs for Lowry, trying to put this second inning away. Emmert stays alive. It's got to be a good feeling as a pitcher when you know your offense is capable to have your back that quickly.
Yeah, she's got a great defense behind her. Gabby Garcia is one of the best shortstops I've seen. Agbayani just gets after it, covers so much ground. She's so quick. over at third base. Not seeing Nelly. It's a little different. It's been a while, but she has been great over at third base.
And quick inning for Lowry as she freezes Emmert on the outside corner. Back-to-back Ks. We head to the bottom of the second. Sooners up 3-2.
Their schedule is tough. I mean, and there's no break.
And those are super regional matches.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
we talk about Kentucky in just what they have run through SEC play as Hammond is back to work to face the 8-9-1. But this is a good Kentucky team.
Yeah. And like I said, there's no break. So they're facing OU, they're going to face Tennessee, then Alabama. I mean, it does not end. And even talking to Coach Lawson, they have had 1 day to practice in 2 weeks. So it's tough for them to even be able to reset and find that confidence or that opportunity to kind of settle in and relax and start over.
And this is a pitching staff as well that has been plagued a little bit by injury. And Hammond, just a freshman, making her second SEC start, but has really done a good job in the opportunities she's had, and nice change of speeds there to Agbayani. But if you look at some of the adversity that this Kentucky team has had to face, when you just talk about some of the injuries that they've had. As that ball is launched to center field off the wall, Agbayani trying to make it a double, and she'll do it. As Emery Donaldson played it well off the wall, but Agbayani, a leadoff double to start the second inning for the Sooners.
Agbayani has really been a table setter in this lineup. She's seeing the ball really well, but she has the capability of dropping a bunt down. She's got some power. She's stretching doubles. She's able to send them out of the park. She is a true table setter, but she's quick on the base patch. She's able to get to second base.
Just a
strong
ball player.
hitter, yeah.
Absolute ball player.
And great on defense.
Yes. And that'll bring up Sydney Barker, getting the start at third base here tonight for the Sooners. She'll square to bunt. See the lead from Agbayani at second, trying to read the defense and see how hard Carly Sleeman was going to crash.
You'll see that play pretty often with Coach Gasso, just trying to, show that bunt or draw that defense in just to get that full-on sprint race between Agbayani and Clark at shortstop, or if Sleeman doesn't charge in, she's got to be able to get to third base and receive the ball in a good position to make the tag.
Nice location from Hammond, but just misses a bit inside, and Barker in a hitter's count here, 3 balls and a strike. One thing we've seen Hammond do well in this game, she's thrown some ground balls. That ball is laced foul. The count runs full. We touched on this a little bit in some of the adversity that this Kentucky team has faced, mostly with injuries to the pitching staff. Carson Fall, Haley Nutter, Sydney Langdon, all week to week are questionable as ball is grounded, and good stretch from Carissa Hamilton over at first for the first out of the inning.
In that instance, I think that's an opportunity for Barker to just do a job there. You've got to move your runner in that instance. You've got to work the other side of the field. You've got to do something different there. I think that's what Coach Gasso is really looking for. Sydney Barker has played a great third base. I think that's kind of her role in the lineup, is to just kind of execute, keep the momentum alive, move your runners.
Another change of speeds to the senior 9-hole, Abby Dayton. And we touched on it a bit, but Kentucky starter Abby Hammond, we've seen 2 home runs leave the yard, the leadoff double here by Agbayani. But we have also seen the freshman make some really good pitches and throw ground balls.
Yeah, I think that's got to be your goal. Your goal has got to be, when facing an OU lineup, is be able to mix your speeds, but keep the ball in the yard and trust your defense. Roll up some ground balls. Haven't seen a ton of balls up in the zone to kind of force some fly balls, but keeping it down in the zone and trusting your defense is really all you can do against this lineup.
As Ella Emmert makes her way out to have a chat with her pitcher, and in speaking with Coach Lawson, really high on the senior catcher Ella Emmert and just the leadership qualities that she has for this team. And the senior captain, you've got to take a lot on as a catcher, especially when you've got a pitching staff that's plagued with injury and you're really relying on some freshmen.
Yeah, you've got to be able to be that voice of reason, the calm one in the situation.
Pitchers can be calm, Dustin.
Yeah, I'm sure, DJ.
It's a thing. They're out there.
When you're looking to your catcher, keep you sane. You know, we've heard some great things about Emmert behind the plate, just that vocal leader.
Another ground ball out and gonna try to roll it, but Agbayani gone as soon as she saw that ground ball to the right side. And that'll roll it back over to the top of the lineup for Oklahoma. And Kai Minor, an opportunity here for a 2-out RBI.
Number 22, Kai
Minor drew a walk back in the first inning. Eventually came around to score as that ball is struck well down the left field line. A diving attempt by Riddell, and that'll land foul, but you gotta love the hustle.
Love the effort. Covered a lot of ground. Just trying to make that play.
And that's the expectation coming from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right? Coach Lawson, unbelievable success in her career. And gosh, you just gotta love the effort.
Yeah.
Knowing it was foul, going toward the wall.
And this field is a little bit tight. Down the lines, you're typically see some more space down in the corners as an outfielder, and there's not a lot of space between the line and that padding.
That's somebody trying to get your pitcher out of an inning, right?
Trying to help her out.
1-1 lined up the middle, and Minor with the 2-out RBI to score Agbayani, and the Sooners up 4-2.
Kai Minor has just really been a standout in this lineup, and maybe not talked about as much as she should be. I mean, hitting .490, keeping this inning alive, and then coming right up after her is the home run queen.
Wells has been a difference maker in this ball game. Has only seen one pitch, but accounted for 2 of the 4 Sooner runs. First pitch she saw, 275 feet.
Doesn't take much. And talking to Coach Lawson, she's like, hey, how are we getting, she referenced her talking to other coaches, hey, how are we getting around Wells? They're like, hey, Walker. And she's like, then what? Then I've got to throw to Parker, Garcia, Pickering. I mean, it's never ending in this lineup.
Minor takes off as she reads the ball in the dirt to get into scoring position. And Destiny, you were talking about it, Kendall Wells, and just the power that she has. 28 home runs on the season. And let's not forget, it's April 2nd. A lot of Sooners on that list of most home runs by a freshman in D1 history, chasing 30.
Yep.
We're not out of the realm of possibility of seeing that this weekend.
Yeah.
With the pace that she has set, and that sounds outrageous. That is not a knock on Kentucky pitching in any way, shape, or form.
No.
That is just
At
what
the rate, her success rate,
it's what she's done all season.
Yeah, that's accurate. I mean,
Against elite pitching.
yeah.
The 2-1, nice location coming from Abby Hammond out off the plate and getting the chase of Wells. That's a really nice pitch. Drop ball outside. Expect to see Hammond to keep the ball down here, trying to minimize the damage. Two, again, another nice location.
Took some off of that as well. I think just trying to keep Wells off balance is the name of the game here.
Twos all around. Hammond rocks and fires. That pitch a little up in the zone. Account runs full.
I like the grit from Hammond, just trying to figure this out. She doesn't seem scared. She's not backing down.
And she's really, I feel like we've seen sort of a Jekyll and Hyde performance so far. That pitch is fouled straight back.
Good location.
But we've seen some home runs, right? We've seen the long ball, 4 runs early in this ball game, but we have also seen her make some really good pitcher's pitches.
Yeah. Yeah, she's done a great job. I'm loving the confidence that just as a freshman, and again, you're facing a freshman, but she's taken the challenge.
A good at bat by Kendall Wells to draw the walk. And when you feel like you got a base open, a hard fought at bat turns into a walk for Kendall Wells, you want to go, maybe not the worst thing until you know you've got Ella Parker.
Ella Parker, yeah. I mean, it's never ending, and that's something that Boston talked about. I mean, it's tough to pitch around anybody in this lineup.
Really nice pitch to open the count.
Looking at the home runs just throughout the lineup, there's a minimum of 5 home runs in this lineup. So anybody can do it. We talked to Coach Gasso a little bit just early on in the season of, you know, you guys are so successful in hitting the home runs and your at-bats look great. You know, you're strong, you're powerful in the box. What is something that you want to focus on? And she's like, bunting. We've got to bunt. We've got to move some runners.
That pitch gets away in the dirt. Runners move up to second and third. And just a drop ball. It got away, and not a lot Emmert could do there. But 3-0 count to Ella Parker. Really want to be careful here if you're Abby Hammond. And again, keeping this game in check.
Yeah.
4-2. We've talked about the OU offense a lot, but Kentucky is no slouch with the sticks themselves. Put up 2 quick to start the game, but they can swing it. It's Parker taking all the way, but Kentucky wanting to limit the damage here early. Big pitch here coming from Hammond. Three-one off speed and back-to-back walks will load it up for the sophomore Gabby Garcia.
Gabby is a very clutch hitter. 50 RBIs on the season, 922 slugging percentage.
Looks like Coach Lawson is going to slow things down a bit to go have a chat with her pitcher and defense. And you can kind of feel what a big moment this is for Kentucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they can get out of this, not only would that, keep them at the 2-run deficit, but that's going to bring some momentum into their dugout, get the excitement rolling, get the confidence up, get them excited for their next at-bat.
A little bit of action down in the bullpen for Kentucky. But Coach Lawson going to stick with the freshman. You got to love the confidence, but more than that, you got to love the challenge to Hammond.
Yeah, I agree. I love that she's willing to stick this out. I love that Lawson has the confidence in her to leave her in this moment. This is a huge turning point. I feel like even in her career. I mean, if she can get out of this, that will be huge.
Nice location on the outer half, and you can see a little bit of frustration from the captain, Ella Emmer, behind the plate going, where'd that miss? It didn't miss by much, but just a bit outside, and nowhere to put Garcia. Grounded out to third base in her first at bat. Another pitch. Just not catching that corner, and 2-0 count here for Garcia. And that pitch is launched at the wall, but Alexa Riddell makes the catch at the warning track, and the freshman gets herself out of a bind. We head to the top of the third. Sooners on top, 4-2. Big matchup for the Sooners coming up next weekend, as Oklahoma is slated to head down to Austin to face the #1 ranked Texas Longhorns. Live on ESPN all weekend. But you gotta love all this SEC top 10 matchups. It's a normal thing in the SEC. Week in and week out. And both of these teams have felt it going through this conference schedule. It does not matter who you play, where you're at. There is no break.
Not a single break in the regular season, but it puts them in a good position to be ready for postseason. I will say that.
It's got to be one of the most, as a coach, it's got to be one of the most awesomely terrible things. Yeah. And Donaldson squares to bunt. They're going to say it was foul.
Man.
Kendall Wells popped out quickly.
Barehanded, got rid of it. Quick heads-up play. Man.
Donaldson trying to find her way on base any way she can. And Destiny, you already talked about it. Kendall Wells popping out, barehanding it.
And fires to first. I mean, what a beautiful play on a foul ball, but shows the athleticism back there.
That's what you do, right? There was zero hesitation.
Zero.
Of Wells popping out from behind the dish, and this ball's grounded, and Barker eats it up, and that'll take care of Donaldson and roll it back to the top of the order for Kentucky. And the Oklahoma Sooners, we've talked a lot about the gauntlet that Kentucky has had to run, but Sooners have had their share of it as well so far on the road at Ole Miss and number 20 LSU. We already talked about that trip to Austin next weekend, and follow that up with real quick with just the number 6 team in Arkansas.
I do think that playing in the atmosphere of Texas is going to be a challenge. Then the next road series is A&M. That's going to be tough. But again, Arkansas coming here, that's tough in itself.
Yes.
So got some good matchups coming, and all of the environments, so many softball fans, so many passionate fans are in attendance, and just the excitement surrounding that is going to be huge.
Lined right back up the middle, and it's a 2-hit day for Carly Sleeman. And she started the rally for the Kentucky Wildcats back in the first, eventually came around to score. But Sleeman seeing Lowry well. That'll bring up Allie Bloom, who also singled and scored a run back in the first. Big hack from Bloom. I'll say this, the 1-2 in this Kentucky lineup, taking really good swings. Seeing the ball well off of Lowry.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Allie Bloom, just a sophomore. Hitting .371 on the year. Takes that pitch low and outside. Go to a ball and 2 strikes. And one thing we saw the top half of this Kentucky lineup do well was use the ground. You talk about passionate fans, the Sooners have got their own as they are letting home plate umpire William Lopez Pellet hear it. So the count runs full. (3-2). Ground ball through the 5-6 hole. And Bloom really doing a good job of handling a pitch on the inner part of the plate. And talk about Kentucky in the top of their lineup, just getting it done.
Yeah, and working that 3-2 count to get the pitch that she's able to work with, making some space for her hands to get inside that ball. But again, the top of the lineup, Carly Sleeman, Allie Bloom, just finding their way on base.
3-hole hitter Maddie Clark, she swings through the first pitch, laid down a sacrifice bunt to kind of set up that scoring rally for Kentucky to start the ball game. Expect to see her swinging and trying to get something done here with the stick with 1 out.
This is what we saw in the first. 2 singles, just finding their way on. Like you said, Madison Clark was able to come up and move her runners, get the bunt down. Just manufacturing runs, finding your way on and moving each other over.
Well, and one thing that this team really focuses on, and not just this team, any team at Kentucky under Coach Lawson in her tenure there, fundamentals. Every team she coaches is so fundamentally sound. They do the little things well. And again, that's the standard. But taking things one pitch at a time and just really having a sound foundation. And the ground ball to short. They're going to get the out at second, but not quite in time. That'll put runners at the corners for the senior Carissa Hamilton, who is responsible for both of the Wildcat runs here tonight.
Good job by Agbayani sticking with that ball unable to make the play over at first, but sticking with that ball to get the out at second.
Hamilton singled back in the first to drive in both of the Kentucky runs. Takes the 1-0. A little bit of a change of speeds coming from Lowry, trying to get Hamilton off balance. And Maddie Clark at first will take off, 6 for 6 on the year on stolen bases.
Two outs. Not necessarily a good time for first and third plays, but
you're reading my mind.
You
Destiny.
never know.
You never know.
With an offense like OU, you've got to risk it.
Kentucky, an aggressive ball club. Stolen bases up and down the lineup. The 2-2 is skied high to right field, but Kai Minor's going to take it in the gap, and that'll do it. Lowry works out of it as we head to the bottom of the third. Sooners up 4-2. Before we know it, Oklahoma City, the softball capital of the world. And you look at the Women's College World Series championships, kind of scattered all over, but you see UCLA, Arizona, all-time leaders. But since 2000, Oklahoma has dominated the Women's College World Series, picking up 8 national titles since the year 2000. And the word dynasty is what comes up when you talk about Sooner softball.
Yeah, decade of dominance is what their tagline has been.
After years and years of, at what was at that time Pac-10 softball dominance, and seen such a shift.
It's interesting because you still see those teams make their appearances there. I mean, they've got some great athletes, but the way that the conferences have shifted over time, you're seeing new teams kind of pop up at the World Series. We've seen James Madison there a few times.
Ole Miss making an appearance last year. But if you talk about the mecca of softball in 2026, it's the SEC. Top 10 matchup after top 10 matchup as Cassidy Pickering draws the leadoff walk. And for the freshman Abby Hammond, second time here in this ball game that she's walked the leadoff.
And we saw what that did in the first. Walking Kai Minor led to a one-pitch, 275-foot bomb. In this instance, we've got to see her make that adjustment.
Isabella Emmerling stands in, and the walk to Pickering marks the 4th walk delivered by Hammond here this evening, and a little out of the ordinary. I mean, in Destiny, only 16 walks for Hammond coming into this ball game, 4 here early on, just in the 3rd here tonight. How much of that do you feel like goes into maybe being trying to be a little bit too fine?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as a pitcher, but I would assume that as a pitcher facing this lineup, you've got to be a lot more precise in your pitches and where the location is and your spins, because you cannot afford to give up as many home runs as they are capable of hitting. So I would assume, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, that as a pitcher, you've got to be a little bit, and maybe not adjust in your mechanics or anything along those lines, but I do think that it is a head game.
And ground balls, gonna get the lead runner, try to turn 2, and they'll do it. And what a turn up the middle by Maddie Clark and Allie Bloom. And just as we have said it all night, Abby Hammond making some really good pitcher's pitches to throw some ground balls, and there's another, but her middle infield's got her back.
It's a great execution, just making sure that you can make that play. Clark tossing it over with no question. Getting that ball to Bloom, and Bloom just turning it over for the double play. Perfectly executed. That's what you want to see. Hammond's got to feel a little bit more confident in her defense after that.
Ilana Agbayani shows bunt, trying to get a little 2-out rally started for the Sooners, but I will say this, how quick and smooth that turn was. I thought that play at first base was going to be a lot closer than it was. It wasn't close.
Yeah, no. And for a second, I thought Clark was going to take second on her own. But quick decision, just pass it off and trust Bloom with the throw.
And we were talking about the walks. And Destiny, you kind of asked my opinion on it, and I think if you go back and you look at the 2 walks, the back-to-back walks in the second that loaded the bases, Kendall Wells, Ella Parker, back-to-back walks, you'd be safe to say, well, it worked. It worked out in the end.
I got out of it.
Right? And but if we're looking at those walks and those leadoff walks, those are never acceptable, right? And it's always a place where it puts you as a pitcher in a really tough position. And speaking again of the walks, I think the piece where we're seeing a little bit of Hammond's youth come out. You get that double play up the middle, and then the quick 4-pitch walk to Agbayani. There's a difference, and there's a difference between an okay walk and, you know, and kind of those situations where you're kind of going, that can really come around to bite us. But Hammond, 2 outs, a runner on first as she faces Sydney Barker.
Can we talk about the walk? I hate to keep bringing up the walks,
no,
but 31 innings pitched, only 16 walks. In this game, we're seeing it a lot. So as a pitcher, from your perspective, what would be your approach to a lineup like OU?
Well, we talked about it a lot, right? Of maybe seeing Hammond trying to be a little bit too fine, right? There's a difference between being deliberate and trying to maybe thread the needle just a little bit too close. And I think some of those really good pitches that are just missing and putting her behind in counts is that pitch goes off the knee of Barker. That'll put runners at first and second for Abby Dayton. But this is a tight game right now. I mean, we're only talking about a 2-run deficit for Kentucky, 4-2, and Abby Hammond, as Coach Lawson's going to make her way out to have a chat with the freshman and try to settle her down. But it hasn't, we've seen, again, we've seen the things you can't defend. We've seen the long ball, we've seen walks, now a hit by pitch. Those are the things that get difficult, because when she's letting her defense work, she's getting herself out of innings and throwing some really nice pitches, but you can't defend the long ball and you can't defend 3 passes.
Exactly.
And that has been the difference maker.
Yeah, and I'd love to see her work through this, and we're not going to see a pitching change here. The bullpen is empty. I think they're really trusting that she can get herself out of this, but I think more than anything, this is a great experience for the freshman.
Absolutely.
To work through this, understand what she's capable of, trust the defense and know what they're capable of. The hard part is going to be, can you get Abby Dayton out, or are we going to roll this lineup over?
Huge spot here for the freshman. And this is a defense I would expect that part of the conversation was you got to be on your toes, because there's the bunt right there. And it's a beauty as Abby Dayton did my job for me.
I mean, that was a perfectly executed bunt. Something that your defense may not have been prepared for with 2 outs. You don't necessarily expect that. But Abby Dayton perfectly placing that bunt, getting down the first base line. I mean, there's no chance of throwing Abby Dayton out with her speed, the placement of that ball. It's a tough out to make.
And just as I was about to say, part of the conversation was you got to watch Abby Dayton and expect potentially some short game. There it was. And Kai Miner has had a night herself, walked back in the first, a single, RBI single at that in the second, and a spot here to give the Sooners a little more breathing room. Bases loaded and 2 outs. And Hammond falls behind, 2 balls and no strikes. Ground ball up the middle. Agbayani will score. Here comes Barker and Kai Miner picking up her second and third RBI on the night. To pass the bat to Kendall Wells, Sooners go up 6-2.
Just great piece of hitting. Seeing that ball down in the zone and understanding where your defense is, finding a gap. Kai Miner keeping the energy alive. You're feeling the energy from the fans. Everybody's standing up, getting engaged.
And it looks like that's going to be the day for the freshman Abby Hammond as Coach Lawson makes her second visit to the circle, and that will do it for the freshman. And again, we kind of talked about it, Destiny. We saw a lot of really good things from Hammond. We will tell you about the new pitcher here when we come back. Sooners put up a crooked number here in the bottom of the third, forcing Kentucky to make the call to the bullpen, and it is going to be Mackenzie Oslanzi being put here in a tough position, but the junior enters the game with a 3.1 ERA, 3-4 on the season. This will be her 20th appearance on the year. High strikeout numbers, 32 strikeouts on the season. Good velo as the first pitch to Kendall Wells misses just a bit low. We'll get you the book on Hammond's day here in a second, but Oslanzi trying to minimize the damage and keep this game in striking distance as she falls behind Kendall Wells, 2 balls and no strikes.
Oslanzi, we're going to see some mid to high 60s drop curve combo. I think the big piece, and we talked about it all game long, is that changeup has to be a factor. We'll see a little bit of a rise ball from her as well. Didn't see too many rise balls from Hammond.
And one thing this pitching staff really tries to do is they try to work the ball down. You're going to see that drop ball work down in the zone, but one challenge as Kendall Wells is called back. And the count goes to 3 balls and a strike. And one challenge that has been made to this pitching staff is to really utilize the upper half of the strike zone. And this is a pitching staff that works well left to right, but also being able to change the eyes and work up as Kendall Wells draws her second walk on the night to bring up Ella Parker. Bases loaded and 2 outs for Parker.
I think mixing the eyes is a big piece of this, but I also think that that's more so the danger zone. You cannot miss. If you're going to work up in the zone, you've got to make sure it leaves the zone and you're getting these hitters to chase.
And that pitch gets away from Emmert. And at the plate, Pickering will score. Miner thought about it, but thought better of it as she retreats back to third. But Sooners add to the lead to make it 7-2. That is the 5th Sooner run scored here tonight with 2 outs. Swansea, as she's entered this ballgame, having a little bit of a hard time finding the strike zone.
Yeah, I think you've got to be able to find the zone, not only because you're facing a really difficult offense, but you've got runners on the base paths. Can't afford to allow them to move up 60.
Swansea behind, 2 balls and no strikes. We've spent so much time talking about Wells and her home runs, and Parker knows a bit about that herself. Putting up home run numbers in the teens each year.
Yeah, she has been such a staple in this lineup with her freshman year. 13 home runs on the season, 15 last season, 16 as of now. She's just a junior.
Draws her 2nd walk of the night to load up the bases again for Gabby Garcia. So reminiscent of what we saw back in the 2nd. Back-to-back walks to Kendall Wells, Ella Parker to put Gabby Garcia with bases loaded and 2 outs. And you can just see Coach Lawson trying to settle down her pitching staff, trying to settle down her defense.
This was a situation we saw Gabby Garcia in last inning. She had the opportunity, bases loaded. She flied out to left field. I don't want to say flied out. It was a hard hit ball. Just had a little too much air underneath. But I think this is a challenge for Gabby Garcia as well.
No question. And Garcia 0 for 2 so far here on the night. But an opportunity to blow this game wide open for the Sooners. Swansea needing to work to get in the zone. First pitch to Garcia. Right down the chute and big hack. And, you know, it's not often you get to have the conversations of home run leaders by a season, but Gabby Garcia in that conversation herself, 16.
And those numbers are unbelievable because they're double digits of so many athletes in this lineup.
What's wild is if you look at those numbers and just the gap between Kendall Wells and the rest of the team. I mean, it just talks about, I mean, we can talk over and over about the tear that she has been on. But Gabby Garcia, 16 home runs on the year. Ella Parker Pickering. And you can see Gabby Garcia taking good swings in the box, and Oslanzi trying to find any way to stop the bleeding here for Kentucky.
OU now at 139 home runs on the season.
And this ball is laced straight back up the middle. Minor will score. Here comes Kendall Wells. And Gabby Garcia taunting the Kentucky infield a little bit. I'd say taunting's probably not the right word to use there, but trying to make sure they feel the pressure. And Sooners continue to add to their lead with 2 outs.
With the 1-2 count, Oslanzi's got to be able to keep the ball in the corners. She's got to win that at bat. But Garcia just not giving up. She's going to see a pitch. She's going to work with it.
Sooners will bat around in this inning, up 9-2. And runners at the corners for Cassidy Pickering, who led off this inning with a walk. And here's how quickly this inning has gotten turned on its head. Pickering drew a walk to start the 3rd. Or excuse me, single to start the 3rd. Nope, drew a walk to start the 3rd. But Cassidy
Inside the zone.
Pickering back in the first inning launched a pitch in what was the second home run of the inning. But to finish my point, how quickly, I mean, we saw a double play get turned early in this early in this inning where you kind of thought Kentucky was going to work out of it. The Sooners have put up 5.
Very successful 2 outs this game. And that's something that, as a defense, you've got to focus in on that and not let this happen.
Fly ball to left center field, but Riddell is there to grab it for the final out of the inning, but not before some damage has been done. Sooners put a little bit of a gap on top, 9-2.
And we have seen a lot of action in this ball game. Kentucky took the lead early, putting up a pair of runs in the first, but the Sooners answered back quickly. As this game has progressed, Oklahoma putting up 7 of their 9 runs with 2 outs.
Just incredible. I think that goes to show that they don't stop. They are pedal to the metal. The outs don't matter. You're getting in that box. You're doing your job. You're executing.
Kentucky a little bit of a hill to climb as Abby Hammond stays in the lineup offensively. And she will lead off the 4th for Kentucky. Couple of defensive changes for the Sooners as well. The first pitch to Hammond misses a little bit upstairs. Cheney Helton checks in for the Sooners in right. And Alyssa Parker at third base. Parker, the freshman, can do a little bit of everything. We've seen her nearly everywhere.
Yeah, this freshman class is truly amazing. Alyssa Parker, I've seen her play third base, first base. I've seen her pitch. Plank said that he's gotten to see her at all the infield positions except catcher.
Suit her up. Why not? 2-1 to Hammond is skied high to the right side. Cheney Helton there to glove it for the first out here in the 4th. I'm gonna bring up left fielder Alexa Riddell. Riddell grounded out back in the 2nd.
Cheney Helton getting her opportunity in right field, and looking at her numbers, I mean, she's got 4 home runs on the season. There's just no break when throwing to their lineup.
Lowry fires the 0-1 and quickly gets ahead of Riddell. No balls and 2 strikes. For Kentucky, we've seen some good at-bats throughout this ball game and some opportunities. But a 5-run bottom of the 3rd from Oklahoma. Let's put them in a 7-run deficit here in the 4th. But again, this is not a Kentucky team that will roll over. This is a team that fights. And, you know, if you look at it as that pitch is struck well right at Cheney Helton, out and right, and the Wildcats know that Cheney Helton just got in the game because they're finding her quickly. Good swing on the ball, but second out here for Lowry in the 4th.
Hilton just doing a really good job playing her position well. Seeing the ball well, reading the spin off the bat.
First pitch to 7-hole hitter Peyton Plotz. Misses inside. Plotz, one of the 2 strikeout victims here tonight for Lowry. Took a little off that one. Lowry giving up the 2 quick runs to start this game, but has settled down as that ground ball is going to get out into left field and pass Alyssa Parker at third. Kentucky trying to put some pressure on the 2 defensive swaps that have been made here in the game.
They're coming for you. That's a ball that, I mean, it's pretty tough. She misread completely. I think that's got to be an out there.
Ground ball to Parker. She'll fire it across for the 3rd out of the inning. We're heading to the bottom of the 4th. Sooners on top, 9-2. Oklahoma on top, 9-2 as we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. I'm DJ Sanchez along with Destiny McElroy. How quickly this game took a bit of a turn. You rewind about 30 minutes ago, and in the bottom of the 3rd inning, this was a 2-run ball game, and Destiny, we're at a point now where Kentucky's 1 run away, or Oklahoma is 1 run away from putting this game into run rule territory.
I feel like it kind of happened so quick as we're going to see Lexi McDaniel get her opportunity here.
A little bit of a check swing on the off speed, and they're going to say she win as the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. McDaniel on the year has seen some spot starts, but hitting .453 and has really done such a great job in that pinch hit position or coming into big situations in the box. As I said, .453 on the year, 23 RBI.
These numbers are insane from the freshman. I mean,
8 home runs from the freshman. Let's not slouch at that for a minute.
Yeah, no.
Right?
And I think
that ball's grounded to the right side, and Bloom will take care of it, and McDaniel's retired for out number 1.
for a player like Lexi McDaniel, I mean, her opportunities are limited, not for any reason other than there's not a lot of options to play in this lineup. You've got your starting 9, you've got, and it all makes sense. So when you're getting your opportunities, she has really stood out. She's done a great job with very limited opportunities.
Agbayani takes the first pitch she sees for a called strike, and Lexi McDaniel marks the first leadoff out that Kentucky has taken care of in this ball game.
That's a big deal. We talk about the free passes. Agbayani came up in the second with a double, but I think that's what they've been missing, that leadoff out to kind of set the tone.
Swansea rocks and fires, and nice location on the outer half. Just misses for ball 2. Agbayani has scored a pair of runs here tonight. Big hack. I see that pitch kind of fall off the table a little bit. Nice location. And again, keeping the ball down to Agbayani. Good little bite there at the end from Oslanzi.
Good battle on both ends.
Oslanzi has good velo. Can mix speeds. And got Agbayani down in the zone with the drop ball. A nice location. First strikeout delivered from Wildcat pitching here tonight.
Really mixing pitches here. Different locations, different spins. Agbayani got a good mix. Good sequence there.
2 quick outs here in the 4th by Oslanzi to bring up Alyssa Parker. Getting her first at bat here in the ball game. The Oklahoma native. So 1-0. That pitch was pretty dirty. You can even see Emmert behind the plate having to catch the movement as it worked through the strike zone east to west. And there's that change of speeds.
Coming in at 47 miles per hour. That's quite a big change.
Well, when you think about it too, right? You want to see those off-speed pitches down in the strike zone and still have enough on them to be deceptive, right? As that pitch is off the glove of Oslanzi, and Alyssa Parker will find her way on base here with 2 outs to kick this lineup back over to the top. And Kai Minor and the Wildcats an opportunity to have a 1-2-3 inning just off the glove.
Alyssa Parker just finding her way on. I think, you know, that's a tough mishap on Oslanzi. She's got to be able to field that and get her team back in the dugout, get some runs on the board. And I think in that situation, it's tough. I mean, now you've got some added pressure. You understand that this team doesn't just give up with 2 outs. You understand what the 2 outs rallies have looked like.
Yes, Sooners in this ball game, scoring 7 of their 9. With 2 outs. And Tia Malloy pinch hitting for Kai Minor, and Malloy has really shined in some of these moments throughout the year. And a shot here to add to that Sooner lead. She takes the first pitch for call strike 1.
Malloy being a sophomore, I mean, she's got some good experience here at OU. She understands what it means to be given these opportunities, what you need to do with them. Good hack there.
Oslanzi ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. Really trying to settle things down for Kentucky, and she's done a good job here in this inning. Again, the error right back to her. But started this inning with 2 quick outs, trying to get out of it here. Malloy stays alive.
Oslanzi coming in hard at the hands. The head in the count. Trying to get out of this inning.
Oslanzi, we already talked about it, has good velo. Giving a little bit of a shake there, trying to find what she wants. Rocks and fires the 0-2. Malloy staying after it, but Oslanzi pumping the gun at 70.
It's incredible. And then we've seen the off speed come in at 47. But 70 miles per hour is tough to hit with movement. We've seen Emmert behind the plate trying to keep up with the movement.
That ball is laced down the left field line, just foul. Again, consistently hitting that gun at 70.
And we saw Slanzi, you mentioned it, Destiny, pulling that changeup out of her pocket, came in at 47 miles per hour, but it wasn't a competitive pitch, right? I mean, you look at the development of that off speed as Malloy having an at-bat.
Another 70 miles per hour pitch.
But for Slanzi, continuing to throw consistently with that velocity, how deadly a quality changeup would be.
Yeah, yeah. If you can throw that changeup for a strike, you will have these hitters buckling.
This pitch hit hard down the left.
And it's a good
Field
battle
line.
from Malloy. Just trying to keep her at bat alive, but the speed, another one at 70 miles per hour, that pitch came in. And you see Malloy just making contact, and the velocity of this pitcher, if Malloy can straighten it out,
No,
the
Slanzi
distance will go for itself.
in the 0-2 count, continuing to hammer the strike zone. And this pitch to left field, but Riddell is there, and Oslanzi hangs a goose egg for the first time tonight for Kentucky. And we're headed to the fifth. Sooners on top, 9-2. To the fifth we go. Great crowd here tonight. 3,843 in attendance. Not bad for a Thursday.
Not bad for any day.
Packed house here tonight at Loves Field in Norman, and that will be the day for Audrey Lowry. But Destiny, how'd you feel? I mean, giving up the 2 runs early, 3 hits in the first inning, 2 runs in the first inning, but hung zeros the rest of the way out. How'd you feel about the way she adjusted?
Yeah, I think she made that adjustment. That's exactly what Coach Rocha wants to see from her. She came out, she understood what happened. She bounced back completely throughout the entire rest of the game. She handled herself confidently. She handled her pitches very well. She had great command. I think Coach Rocha saw what she needed to see out of Lowry. I think she had an outstanding performance.
5 hits total off of Lowry in this game. 3 of those came in the first inning. But Berkeley Zakay coming in out of the bullpen. And Zakay on the year, 2.74 ERA. Her 8th appearance on the season. Does not have any decisions yet, but has come in out of the bullpen in different types of situations. 7 2/3 inning on the year, but Zakay has got some really good stuff.
Yeah, she's got a really good fastball. She's going to paint the corners. She does have a changeup, and I think that's always something we talk about with Coach Rocha. This staff has got to be able to keep hitters off balance, and we'll see some changeups here tonight.
And that's one of those pieces, especially working with young pitchers. Okay, just a freshman, but we've talked about it throughout this broadcast, but the development of a competitive and quality off speed that you can throw in any count. As the 2-2 is fouled back, but such great potential.
She's got great velo. That pitch came in at 67. Pitch before was 68.
See the change of speeds there, and just missing a bit upstairs to run the count full. Such long levers and such a huge change in what you're seeing from Lowry to Zakay. Different style of pitching as the first batter she faces draws the walk, and Donaldson is aboard to take it back to the top of this Kentucky lineup that has been an issue all game. And Carly Sleeman, 2 for 2 on the night, started the game with a single, eventually came around to score. Drilled another single back in the third. Sooner pitching yet to figure her out.
Sleeman, the junior. Zakay rocks and fires and ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. The changes for the Sooner lineup continue as Lexi McDaniel has stayed in the ball game and moved to first base. And Tia Malloy in left field. And Berkeley Zakay able to do something that Lowry was not, and that is retire Carly Sleeman as she freezes her with an off-speed pitch.
You see that pitch come in and just takes them off. Excellent location, good movement. Just had her stuck.
That pitch is lined right at Agbayani. Not enough time for the double play, but Allie Bloom continuing to stroke the ball like we've seen her do all night, just right at Agbayani. That'll bring up Maddie Clark.
Berkeley Zakay just being able to retire the 2 that had really caused some issues in the first and third.
And there's that off speed, and Zakay pulling that out of her pocket.
And that's what's very difficult as a hitter is that's an off speed that came in at 53 miles per hour. We've seen the change come in at about 47, 48.
Back to back.
But then her fastball's coming in 67, 68. So as a hitter, you're going to have to adjust to 3 different speeds and be able to identify each pitch out of the hand.
Maddie Clark, the senior, trying to get a little 2-out rally started as the 0-2 misses just a little bit upstairs.
And pulled the string on that one. That one came in at 50 miles per hour, 51.
Good take by the senior Maddie Clark, reading that pitch just a bit down. Showing some senior discipline. That's a tough pitch to lay off of with 2 strikes. Two
Gonna get through the 3-4 hole.
And Maddie Clark puts up the 6th hit for Kentucky and giving an opportunity to Carissa Hamilton to put Kentucky in a position again to start chipping away. And one thing, if you look throughout this ball game, Kentucky's had some runners left on base, some runners in scoring position, and just not quite able to push a run across. I'm looking for some 2-out clutch hitting here.
Really using.
And Carissa Hamilton, .531 with runners in scoring position this year. And that pitch is hit well, but also well out of play. But Carissa Hamilton, the senior, has really been clutch for the Wildcats with runners in scoring position. Big spot here for Carissa Hamilton. Runner in scoring position. 2-2. A little bit low, but it's called strike 3 as Zakay takes care of business. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Sooners up 9-2. It's Thursday evening.
I'm DJ Sanchez along with Destiny McElroy. Tried to call you DJ. Changing names. Sooners back to work. Is Kai Minor. Has had quite a night. 3 RBI, drew a walk to start the ball game, came around to score, score again in the 3rd. Roslanzi kept the Sooners scoreless in the 4th for the first time here tonight. Trying to extend this ball game. And I will say this, Oslanzi, since entering, has really settled some things down for Kentucky, and Kentucky knocking on the door in the top half of the 5th. And I wouldn't feel right not to say that there wasn't a little bit maybe of a tough break.
Yeah, I feel like she's kind of changed the tone of the game. For the Kentucky Wildcats, I think she's gotten in the circle and kind of had a sense of calmness, maybe, slowed the game down a little bit.
A 3-2 ground ball. It's gonna have to be quick, and Minor call it her 3rd hit of the night as she's got an infield single. And not a lot Maddie Clark could do. Fielded it clean, got rid of it quick, but Minor just getting down the line.
Yeah, I mean, she did everything she could do. I think in that instance, it's tough with Kai Minor being such a triple threat. You can't necessarily play her as a slapper. So Clark just being deep in the hole. That ball had one too many bounces. She fielded it cleanly, got rid of it, just not in time.
Minor representing what would be the game-ending run in this ball game as Kendall Wells laces the first pitch she sees down the right field line. Kai Minor easily at 3rd base, and it's runners at the corners, nobody out for Ella Parker.
Kendall Wells just being able to work all sides of the field, see the ball on all sides of the plate. It's an outside pitch, just sending it right back where it came from, down that first base line.
Game-ending run at 3rd base for Oklahoma. As Kai Minor stands at 3rd. And Ella Parker an opportunity to end this ball game right here. And Oslanzi going through the heart of this Sooner lineup and trying to keep Kentucky in this ball game. Parker 0 for 1 on the night, has drawn a pair of walks. You can just hear the anticipation from the Sooner faithful. And Parker on the year, 410 with runners in scoring position in a big spot here.
It's a good pitch. Got 2 strikes, 1 ball. You got to use that pitch to your advantage. I think that was a solid location. Trying to get Ella to bite that pitch up in the zone.
2-2 is struck well. Gonna be foul into the Sooner bullpen. I feel like we've talked about it a lot, Destiny, but we have really seen, again, I don't feel necessarily like the stat line, you look at 9 runs being put on the board, but we have seen some good things from Kentucky pitching at times here tonight, as that pitch is hit well down to the left side and just foul. Riddell gives chase.
Good battle. Ella Parker just continuing to foul it off. But Aslanti doing a great job in the circle, continuing to fight. 2-2 count.
Talked about needing to establish and working quality locations up in the strike zone, and I'm not mad at that pitch. Up in the eyes of Parker. Had an active take as that pitch is hit well and off the wall. Kai Miner will score easily. And it will be a game-ending walk-off double for Ella Parker, for the Sooners to win it in run rule fashion, 10-2 here in Norman. And that is the Sooners' 27th run rule game of the season, what puts them for the most in the country. And Destiny, if you look at this game as a whole, we were tight until the third, but the Sooners took control.
Yeah, and you know, Coach Lawson came out and she understood that they were going to have to get some runs on the board, and they came out, they attacked, they got some runs on the board. Couple of mishaps in the circle, just free passes, and we saw Oklahoma execute with 2 outs multiple times, just sparking that 2-out rally. And they did a great job in the batter's box. Aslanti came in, kind of slowed the game down, but I think overall we're going to have to see some adjustments in the circle.
Audrey Lowry picks up the win in game 1 of this set for the Sooners, and Oklahoma takes game 1 in run rule fashion. We will be back here tomorrow as the Sooners take on Kentucky at 1 o'clock on Good Friday. For Destiny McElroy, I'm DJ Sanchez.